My friends, in today's world where the word love is used like a, a diamond being dragged in sewage, you see, the word love is being used for all manner of things under the sun, but for the very purpose of the actual meaning of the word. See, when you tell somebody you love them, when you tell your son, or you tell your daughter, or you tell your spouse you love them, it's something that carries a very, very, very deep meaning. You see, unfortunately today that meaning has become devoid and bereft and is filled with evil. You see, when you tell somebody you love them, it's you love their their physical capability, or you love the fact that they have money, or you love the fact that they have something materialistic thing, or you love the fact that I hear all kinds of people, many people say, I knew people that were involved in wrong things, and they tell people, they told people, I love you, you see, and you look to them and you see that this is not love. This word is being used for the wrong reason. It's being used to get something else, you see, like the way Hollywood uses the word love. You see, it's the same way that everybody uses the word love. You see, now my friends, when you look at the love of God, you see, the love of God is very, very different than human love. The love of God cares about every single living, breathing thing. See, that's what the love. It's not like me or you or others who we selfish in our love, you see, or we can't go to the degree that God can. You see, that's why we need Him. You see, we're only willing to think about a few, myself and a few others, and maybe your nation, something like that. You see, but God's love doesn't think like that. God's love thinks about bringing everybody into His kingdom, and I mean everybody. You see, that's how much it cares, and it cares especially for the weak, for the oppressed, for the poor, because those are the least in the kingdom. You see, He didn't choose human beings because they were mightier. You see, it's funny because it's like God uses the small ones, the least ones, the ones that are nothing, in order to almost test the humility of those that are greater. You see, so in order to be great with God, you need to be even more humble. You see, it's like you telling someone, I want that one to do it, and you know full well that that one, is nothing. So you have to humble yourself, because that is God, and God knows what He's doing. You see? So you see, my friends, Jesus said, the sequence was like this: I know my sheep, I care for my sheep, I lay my life down for my sheep. This commandment I have received of my Father, and He is well pleased. God sent His Son to die. This is how much He loved the world. His own Son. Which human being can you see can send their son to die for anything? You see, in this world we live in, the world that's lost in selfishness, the world that's lost in materialism and gain, you see, a world that's lost in false prosperity, false hopes, false living. Everything is seen through the eyes of the spirit that runs the world. You see, everything is subservient to it. They do not see things with the eyes of the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God should filter everything that we see. Everything that we see, we hear, all the physical, we filter it through the Spirit of God within us. You see? So you see, my friends, if we say we love something, we gotta know it. You see? Knowing takes relationship. There's no other way around it. It takes spending time to know something. And to know it intimately takes even more time. And to go through things, in order to know something, you need to go through things with that particular thing. You see? You need to spend all kinds of experiences, especially hard times. That's when you get to know something. That's when you can see where you need work and where the other person needs work, or where the other thing needs work. You see? When you're working on a project and you have to submit it, you got to spend a lot of time. You got to look at it. You got to see, filter out all the problems, all the weaknesses. You see? It's the same thing. You got to spend time with God. You got to go through things with God. You got to learn about God. You got to learn about you. You see? And then you got to learn about His kingdom. Everybody else. You see? The reason why we follow God is to what? Is to be used by Him. Is to accomplish His purposes in this world. If not, then we should follow something else. You see? So we prepare ourselves to fulfill His plans and purposes. Why? Because we love Him. So we know Him. That's when you begin to care for Him. You see, you begin to care for His ways because you begin to know Him. He begins to put inside you many different things, and you begin to gain some understanding in your heart, some wisdom. You see, because He is wisdom, Jesus Christ. You see, so when you get to know, then you care. When you start caring for something, the more you care for something, the more you will lay your life down for it. You see, you look at some people are mathematicians, they lay their life down for it. You look at someone who is this, he lays his life down for it. You see, what does it mean to lay your life down? It means you start living for that. You see, you start living to solely, or put it this way, more and more until you completely sold out to that particular purpose or that particular reason or cause. You see, in this case it's beyond all that. It's for God. You see, it's beyond time, space, and causes and all these other things that human beings love to debate and strive about. And you know, God is beyond this world. God is eternal. His word is eternal. You see, so how do you know? You've got to know. How do you know? You know Jesus by spending time with Jesus. It's simple. You don't know Jesus by spending time with other things. How do you know your spouse? How do you know anything? You spend time with that particular thing. And if you, maybe 2 of you or 3 of you, then all of you are spending time for that particular reason. If there's somebody that's not wanting to be there, he will be a hindrance. So you tell him, hey, look, man, you know, when you're ready, you can come back. Otherwise, you know, we're here for this reason. We're not here to socialize. We're not here to do, those are very secondary things. We're here to, you see, church is not about numbers. Church is not about growth the way the world defines growth. You see, church is not statistics or mission plans, mission statements, and all these other kind of things. Church is about submitting to the Spirit of God. If the Spirit of God says you gotta leave that building, you gotta leave the building, my friend, and you gotta go somewhere else. If the Spirit of God says devote yourself to prayer for 1 year, then you've got to devote yourself to prayer for 1 year. How are you going to do that? You don't know, but you have to trust in God and try your best. That's all you can do. You see? So these are the things we do. We know, we care. Then we begin to lay our life down. You see? For God. And He's well pleased in that. Because we stop thinking about ourselves. We stop thinking about what the world tells us is success, and what the world tells us that we have to do and follow and all these things. We begin to lay our life down. Why? You can't lay your life down for something you don't care about. You can't lay your life down for something you don't know. You see? It's not possible. So we've got to know, then you begin to care, and then you begin to love it. And then when you love it, you begin to what? Lay your life down for it. So, my friends, that's what we have to do. We've got to know Jesus. We spend time with Him. We talk to Him and we listen to Him. Because Jesus is alive. He speaks. You see? You spend time in His presence. When you spend time in His presence, that knowing begins to abound in you. It begins to grow in you. You see? So you see, you spend time with Him. Then you begin to care more and more. And then you begin to love more and more. And then you lay your life down. You see, then because if Jesus reveals Himself to you in such a way, an intimate way, this world will become utter foolishness. And that's what happens. But you see, the world means so much to people because they never experienced Jesus. They use all these substitutes that people preach. You see,